Okay, so the initial success of that album, then it starts travelling into what was probably one of the most incredible emergences of two Americans with a very established English band. How did that happen? I mean, I've heard many stories, but...
All right, I'm going to conceptualize this and put it into a small... I love these stories, really. Lindsay and I lived in an apartment on Fairfax and Orange Grove.
In L.A.?
Yes, in Los Angeles, right, from Cantor's, down from Cantor. And Richard Dasher, who ended up to be one of our producers because we took Richard with us. We weren't going alone. And I guess Mick Fleetwood just went out to a studio in Los Angeles that's out in the valley that's called Sound City. It's right across the freeway from like this huge brewery, beer brewery. So you can never get lost because you always smell beer and know that you're coming upon Sound City. So you turn off and you go to this place. And he went there to check out Keith Olsen's work. So Keith put on Frozen Love, you know, which is the dun 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 dun. And what did Fleetwood Mac need? They needed a guitar player. And in Frozen Love, Lindsay does an incredible job of he plays. That's a live thing all the way through, straight. And he's also an incredible lead guitar player when he wants to be. And Mick Fleetwood said, here's Peter Green for us.
Right.
And the fact that we know, as history says, they already had a lady singer, they didn't really need another one.
Well, I've got to get on to that in a moment.
But the thing was is that they needed a guitar player bad enough to say, well, you know, we'll take her. If she's good, good. If she's not, she's gone, you know. And you know, Fleetwood Mac is a band, and they just go right on, and they are famous for, you know, like their guitar players, you know.
Right.
So I was a surprise to them, because they didn't expect really anything from me.
Okay, so Mick Fleetwood takes on Lindsay and yourself.
Right.
You suddenly then are becoming a band.
Right.
Now, I mean...
And not even suddenly. It was like, the reason I told you we lived on Orange Grove in Fairfax was because Christine's mother was like very psychic. And the last thing that Chris's mom said to her before she died was, you will find it on Orange Grove. And of course, Christine, with her dry English humor, is sure she's going to be like picking oranges, right, somewhere in an orange grove in California. And they found us on Orange Grove.
Right.
And we became, from the day that we all met at a Mexican restaurant, and they drove up in these two wild Cadillacs, white, like with fins, you know, and they like clunked up, you know, Lizzie and I are like going, these people are strange. And they get out, and it's like, it was really love at first sight. I mean, it was like, how could you not love these people, you know? So we had dinner, and it was never like, do you want to join the band? It was like, well, rehearsals tomorrow at ICM in the basement, and you'll get paid $200 a week in cash, each of you. And I'm going, we're rich, we're rich. And it was like, it was instant. And I went out and bought all the Fleetwood Mac albums with my last, like, pennies, and listened to every side, back to front, to see if I could find any thematic thing in this band that I felt was something that I could do. And I did. I found a real mystical thing in it. From Christine's songs to Peter's, to the Green Manalishi, to Black Magic Women, to all the things I loved. Some good ballads, some really neat rock and roll, some really good rock and roll stuff. And I loved Peter Green. So I said, yeah, I can blend.
Right. You go into a situation then of where an album is to be done. Fleetwood Mac.
All 40 places.
Right. How in the hell did it happen? And did you ever imagine what was going to happen after that? I know you would probably hope it, but... Fleetwood Mac only took 3 months. From beginning to end. That's 5 wild Indians in one room, all going, I'm the producer, you know, or listen, I know I'm right. And I didn't even ever say that, so we're talking only 4. And Lindsay is, once again, radically perfectionistic, and it's like, you know, he's going, well, I don't want to be on it then. It's just not right. And Lindsay and Stevie and Chris had to learn to sing together, because Christine's very English, you know.
And like, and I'm kind of like wherever I am. If I'm in Atlanta, I have a Southern accent, and if I'm, you know, in England, then I'm more. It's like, and Lindsay's very like kind of country rock and roll. Just to listen to just Lindsay play and sing. So to put these three voices together, especially two of which had been singing for years, was hard. But the one great thing about the English is that they are jovial enough to make a joke out of a lot of things. And this was the only way I think that the three of us learned to sing together. Because it was like, Lindsay and I had already practiced for years, you know, and then there was another lady that was like, she had to learn to sing with us, too, you know. And that was the hardest part. But the record was done in 3 months, what can I say? We didn't have all the money in the world to spend. We couldn't be indulgent, and nobody knew if it was going to be a hit or not. And for Lindsay and I, we were rich, because we were getting like, you know, hundreds of dollar bills a week. I mean, and we were starving.
So, Fleetwood Mac started to take off. Singles were released from it, and suddenly, Stevie Nicks especially, is starting to become a first-class lady as far as a big #1 and a big star. How did you react to that?
I don't think that Stevie Nicks really realized it, because once again, we left, and we worked for like 4 months, solid, 4 nights a week, you know, which wasn't, that's why my voice got hurt. And like 1 day off, and then 3 gigs, and 1 day off, and 4 gigs. We were so busy, honestly, and we went everywhere. We went to Grand Junction, Colorado, and to Casper, Wyoming. We went to places where nobody went. So we really did take our music out. And I think that as much as the record, we went out and played it for people, you know. And I mean, it was like, it was an amazing life adjustment for me to literally be doing 3 to 4 shows a night. I mean, not a night, but a week, and then having a day to travel, and like that, the first class ticket, you know. Well, you travel once, and then you work solid. And so the only time you really got to even sit down and rest was when you were on the airplane. And nobody read Billboard. Nobody called home to find out, you know, when you're really touring, you're really wrapped up in your music and what you're doing every night. And I was, you know, I was working out everything in my, you know, Rhiannon is a certain way on the record. Well, Rhiannon turned into a whole nother thing on stage. But I had to work that out in my head every night. When I went to bed, I'd lay in bed and go, you know, what do I want to do in this song? What is, and I'd, you know, and I'd really spend an awful lot of hours thinking about, not about how good we were doing, but about what I wanted to do in my place in 3 people, Lindsay, Christine, and Stevie. And what was I going to do right here in the middle of these two, you know? How was I going to be?